Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, I have a very, very funny concept for today. Today, we are talking about NSFW characters in Law. Oh my god! So this had to be something I would cover at some point. This is just such a funny concept. I don't. I want to obviously talk about this because it feels like it's so rare, but it's so funny, but it's so easy to do so wrong. Uh, I want to try and make a video talking about this. So um, NSFW characters. So this originally just kind of started with I guess the original creation of the horny status as Law in Law original, and I feel it's been kind of changed to the attraction stats. Some people use the horny. It's kind of it's just whatever term you want to use. It depends on what's in your roster. I think is what you should call the term. If you have a more mature roster, I think calling it the horny status is fine. If you have a weirder selection of characters, maybe keeping it as just attraction would be better. It's a weird thing, but I've always felt the horny status being in LoL in general is just kind of important. It might be weird to say, but I feel like it's weird mechanics like this that make LoL more unique from Smash Brothers. It can get really loose and wild with some funny mechanics that you probably would never expect to see Smash, because that's what the whole thing about LoL is, things you wouldn't ever expect to see in Smash Brothers are in LoL. Some weird stuff like that. I think though it's you have to be careful. Obviously you can't. People always say this all there's the attraction stat, there's a horny stat. What if we just made a character that made more characters that revolved around the status effect? Because it's such a core thing, but you don't see many people handle it. It's more so just kind of a side thing. Because all it is just a stun. It's a stun that's the time is different from character to character. It's very matchup dependent. So the problem is when you start making characters, you run into a huge problem because inherently the LoL community, we a lot of these members are adults now at this point, or we generally are adults, but the LoL community generally attracts children, so. We can't just start throwing dicks everywhere, guys. We gotta be reasonable here. It can't, and also I think it's important to have a balancing act. When you want to create a character, obviously you don't be stupid about it. It's very easy to just come up with a very lazy and dumb concept, or just oh, I'm gonna make a horny character. Bam, that's a horny character. It's not fun. That's not funny. It's also you're just gonna get that taken off of YouTube. You have to be reasonable with it. So I want to talk about some particular characters today that I think do this concept well, and I want to explain why it's okay for them to exist. You know. So we'll talk about. See, we have some really good examples here. So let's talk about let's talk about a simple one. Let's talk about a simple one. We have Uncle Samsonite from Law Dreams. So this is a character I don't really know much about, but I do kind of consider him an NSFW character. He is you look at his animations, yeah, that's the joke, right? He's meant to be a lewd, silly character. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that I think one of the big core things you want to do with an NSFW character, right? You know, there needs to be a balancing act. You need to make sure, obviously they're a lewd character, but you need to make them interesting. They need to be an actual character, and they need to be funny. I think that's the balancing joke you want to hit with an NSFW character, because, sex is funny. I mean, it's just inherently a very easy thing to make fun of. It's very easy to just laugh at it. Oh, haha, penis, haha, that's so funny. Oh, he does this eggs. That's so funny. It's easy. It's one of the most childish books, childish jokes you can think of. And that's a balancing act. You kind of have to ride, I guess. Like you got to make sure, like you're not getting too NSFW that kids should not be watching this. But it needs to be funny. That's kind of you need to make sure you get that balance. And Uncle Samsonite works because he's inherently a very silly character. He's animated very strangely and weirdly, and he has he's a big heavyweight chunky guy. We don't really have many big heavyweight characters in Law, or not many wide giant characters. So this is like a good way for SFW characters to kind of stretch their legs, is that they can inherently reach archetypes that are generally very rare. You have like a lot of grapplers, you have heavyweights, you have slower characters. Those are characters you don't see very done often at all, and I think they work really well for this. This can generally make them have really interesting movesets, which is why I'm kind of sad we haven't seen more of them. But again, it's so easy to just go too hard on the horny status and the sex jokes, and you don't make anything of substance. Um, okay, so another one I want to talk about, talking about characters that are inherently filling a niche. We have Kaminashi Nozumi. So this is another really cool character. This is from Law What If. This is I think this is probably one of Cheesy's best movesets. Period. She's such an interesting character because she's based. I think if you've seen Cheesy's roster, you can tell a lot of characters have that kind of they're riding the line a little bit too, where they're kind of weird picks. A little bit. There's some definitely NSFW-ness here, but it's also all kind of has that silly vibe to it. It's very balanced, but um, Kaminashi Nozumi is very interesting because whereas a lot of characters you would think, oh, they're like grapplers, um, they're very slow characters. Kaminashi Nozumi is interesting because Cheesy goes really hard on the Keijo mechanic, and he made her a disjointed rushdown character, and rushdown characters are also weirdly enough very rare in Law. I think it's so easy because it's I could make a whole video talking about this in general, but rushdown characters are just solely rushdown characters are very hard to make. They're very rare in Law because it's so easy for people to just evolve into traps and projectiles and other random things. It's so not only is this character fitting in a that niche, but she's also a disjointed character, which means she's technically a sortie. That's another thing you basically really don't see in Law. I mean, there's a lot of disjointed attacks, but I don't think we've really seen an exclusive character that is just a sortie. That's just everything is disjointed. So that's technically three niches she's already fitting into. She's such a weird character, and that's really really cool. You can know nothing about the source, but you could look at this character and be like, oh wow, that she's actually looks really fun. In emotion, she's kind of sick, and she's very well balanced as well. She has a lot of things. Oh, she's a lot of stun attacks. She has a lot of movement options. She just looks really nice in motion. You can tell because this is when Cheesy really started making a lot of fun character ideas. It's just they're not very. Because I mean, Cheesy obviously he has a lot of good ideas in general, but I think this is this is probably his magnum opus of just fitting so much stuff in one place. Um, Now, there's another very infamous, very awesome character that unfortunately you cannot watch on YouTube anymore, but he is a LOL character. He does exist. And actually, no, he kind of exists on YouTube right now. It's Van Dark. It's Van Dark. Oh, Van. We love Van here. Van literally rode the line and then he broke it and then he strung it up on a platform and then he got kicked out of the bar. He's not allowed there anymore. Van had to be taken off YouTube because he inherently is just too NSFW to keep on here. But even then, you still see like his content like everywhere. He is such like a good character, because like if you don't know anything about him, you'll probably say like, oh, he's like the funny sex guy. There's not really many like it's not easy to understand who he is unless you like go in depth on like what the fandom around him. But he's a very like lol character. Like I think if you end up picking a character that is inherently very NSFW and may not have like a crazy moveset, I think another thing you want to consider is like does this character deserve to have a moveset made of them? As I said at the start, they need to have substance. Are they important enough that you would want to like see a moveset made of them? And Van most definitely is a character that is like pretty important on the web. Like if you know anything about like Billy Harrington and like all like the YTP MVs that are made of Van and Billy and all those other wonderful people, they are very like wholesome, awesome, nice guys. Like they aren't just like stupid sex jokes. Van has a legacy, and it's important that Law Mad gave him that. Again, though, he couldn't stay. He had to take it off YouTube for a bit. uh, so yeah, that's another thing you want to keep in mind. Don't just make this a very NSFW moveset if you can help it. I think if you have a concept and you have an idea that can work and is there and that is go for it. I say just shoot for it, but don't do something that's weird, please. Don't be weird about it. It's just again, you have to be careful like how you do this. It is a very tough thing to do. But there's so much potential here that's very unexplored, which makes it like a very interesting thing to talk about. I think the reason why we don't see many NSFW characters in general, I think is because like it's just a lot easier to just give someone like a move that has a horny mechanic attached to it, and that's it. But even then, I feel like that's also kind of rare. Like Van doesn't have like a horny move in his kit, which I'm kind of surprised by that now. I think. Then again, it's not really like he doesn't make you horny; he just breaks you. But yeah, uh, I don't know how many people are gonna watch this. This is such a weird video. It's such a weird character concept to talk about. I didn't even. I had like other characters I wanted to discuss for this, but this is such a weird time for it. I didn't know what to do. But yeah. That's all I gotta say about it. I think I've said about everything I can say about it. Hopefully, you take a lot of this to heart. Don't be weird. Be funny. Make sure it's funny. Don't be too weird, and you're good, basically. All right. Uh, that's it. You all have a wonderful day now. Bye bye.